My name is Noel Brady, and in this video essay, I will be discussing Krzysztof Kieslowski's Three Colors trilogy: blue, white, and red. What I want to focus on today is a pivotal scene that each film in the trilogy shares. The scene I will be discussing is the bottle bank scene. An elderly individual struggling to use a green bottle bank is a recurring image throughout the trilogy and plays an important role in defining a number of things throughout each film. What's interesting about the bottle bank scene is that for such an inconspicuous image, it tells us an awful lot about the themes of each film and gives us a fascinating insight to the minds of our main characters, Judy from blue, Carol from white, and Valentine from red, at the point in their lives when they encounter it. We first encounter the bottle bank and its user in blue, and this is where I will begin my discussion of it. When we encounter it, Judy is in the healing and recovery stage of her grieving for her husband and daughter. Judy sits on a park bench, immersed in sunshine, imagining and composing a melody in her head. Judy is surrounded by other people, but alone at the same time. Eyes closed and mind in another place, Judy fails to notice the old lady close to her, struggling at the bottle bank. Here we are introduced to the idea that Judy's composing can lead her out of the world, and eventually out of her grief, and help her cope with her troubled past and present. She initially uses it to separate herself from her pain, and then to eventually free herself from it. This idea of freedom is a theme prevalent throughout Blue. This seemingly minor scene reveals so much about Judy's character and her coping mechanisms, and is an early look at what gets her through her grief. Unlike when we revisit this image in white, Judy is not purposefully ignoring the woman and being unhelpful. Instead, she is simply oblivious to her. When Carol does encounter the bottle bank scene in white, he's probably at the lowest point in his life. His wife has just divorced him, he's lost all of his money, and he is essentially homeless. Unlike Judy, Carol does notice the individual struggling, and instead of helping, he simply sits there and watches them with a sinister smirk. Carol sits on some concrete steps adjacent to the bottle bank and watches as the older man struggles to get the wine bottle into the bank. In a dark twist on the spirit of equality that we see play out throughout White, Carol allows the man to look after himself and doesn't offer any assistance. Carol is stewing in his own self-pity and refuses to help anyone else because of it. Perhaps he thinks the man will be too proud to accept it, or perhaps, as his grin suggests, he's just happy to see someone besides himself struggling in the world. In red, we return to the image of an elderly woman struggling to place a bottle in the bottle bank. Unlike Julie and Carol, Valentine helps the individual struggling with the bottle. Following Valentine's hand on the window goodbye with the old judge, she encounters her version of the bottle bank scene. This tiny moment of indifference that she displays by helping the woman is incredibly important in defining the charitable nature of Valentine, seen throughout Red. We see it when she takes in the dog and her compassion for the old judge. It really solidifies the theme and spirit of fraternity and solidarity that is so strong within Red. Each film's themes and characters and the differences between each are presented to us quite clearly by Kieslowski in these three key scenes. Watching each bottle bank scene together paints a clear picture of the characteristics of these people and what really drives them. It is clear the scene was in each film as a sort of petri dish in order to add each of our main characters into the exact same scenario and see how they develop. And it gives us, the audience, a point to compare and contrast how they react to that scenario, clearly defining their character traits and defining the overall message of each film in the trilogy.